Hi, my name is Araliya Thevapalan. I'm an advocate for marginalized and vulnerable communities. I'm also a former government servant. I'm here on today's episode of Ask Me on High TV, so let's begin the round of questions. So here's the first segment called Actually Me. So let's begin the questions.
Hi Araliya.
Hi.
What brings out the inner child in you?
Anything pink, fluffy and glittery.
Why did you choose your profession?
Because I had this craze to work for the country, so I wanted to always do something for the people, and this is why I chose my profession.
If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Japanese, sushi, chocolate.
If money was no object, what would you do all day?
Shop.
If you could go back in time, what year would you travel to?
2015.
How would your friends describe you?
Difficult.
Aside from necessities, what one thing could you not go a day without?
My phone.
If you could share a meal with any 4 individuals, living or dead, who would they be?
My parents and my grandparents.
Would you rather trade intelligence for looks or looks for intelligence?
I would rather trade looks for intelligence.
Who would you want to play you in a movie of your life?
I think it would probably be my friend Dilakshini. She's closest to being like me.
What's the most unusual thing you've ever eaten?
That would have to be venison, without my knowledge actually.
Is there anything you wished would come back into fashion?
Not really, because the trends keep coming back, so I think not.
Which of the 5 senses would you say is your strongest and why?
That's really funny because most of my senses don't actually work very well. I can't see very well, I can't hear very well, and I can't smell very well either.
What 3 things do you think of the most each day?
I think about life a lot, and I think about my work all the time. I think a lot about my family.
If you had a warning label, what would it say?
Don't get too close.
What song would you say best sums you up?
I think if I answered that, it'll sound pretty sad, so I might refrain from telling you.
What celebrity would you like to meet for a cup of coffee?
Kate Middleton. I love her personality and how she carries herself and who she is as a person.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how funny would you say you are?
Probably 0.
What is your favorite family holiday tradition?
My favorite family holiday tradition would be to go to Singapore. I usually go to Singapore during my Christmas holidays.
What is one thing you will never do again?
I'm not sure to say if there's anything that I wouldn't do again, because usually when I do something, I try to be a bit conscious and I know what I want and I try to do what is right.
What was the best phase in your life?
The best phase in my life would have probably been when I was in university. I really enjoyed my life there. I think it also made me a lot more independent and built me as a person.
What makes you feel accomplished?
For my work, I have to travel quite far most of the time, and it's also under very difficult circumstances. So when the work that I do, which is with very vulnerable communities, when I come home at the end of the day, I feel quite accomplished knowing that I've done something significant, even if it was in a very small way towards somebody else's life.
What is a relationship deal breaker for you?
I think the deal breaker is when perhaps someone is unfaithful to you, because if they don't feel that they value you as a person anymore, or if they don't love you as much as they did, or if they don't love you anymore, then there's no use really.
When have you felt your biggest adrenaline rush?
I would say it's during election time. I love to go for political rallies and the campaigning. It's being around the people and the energy that goes around that gives me a proper adrenaline rush.
If a genie granted you 3 wishes right now, what would you wish for?
If the genie were to grant me 3 of my wishes, I'd want a defender.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'm not really sure where I will be in 5 years, but it'll be perhaps somewhere trying to do something to seek justice for a situation that needs help in the country.
What are the 3 things you value most about a person?
I think I value most about a person is their honesty, loyalty, and their commitment.
What is the greatest struggle you've overcome?
I think one of the greatest struggles I had to overcome was I get very attached to things and to people, and then it's very difficult for me to overcome that. But as time went by, I think I've learned to be more accepting and resilient.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
It would be Sri Lanka for sure.
What's the most exciting thing that's happened in the past year?
Okay, so I'm trying to start a very small sari brand of my own, and on the 1st of January 2020 I was able to go and register my label name, and that was pretty exciting for me because this is something I would never do usually.
What's one thing that bothers you most about the world today?
I think something that really bothers me the most is when I see injustice and when things happen to people or even to animals and people just turn a blind eye and think it's okay to move on. I think that really bothers me.
What is the weirdest thing about you?
The weirdest thing about me could possibly be I have a tendency to laugh at very awkward or inappropriate situations. Like, I don't mean to, but unintentionally. It's not that I'm trying to be insensitive, but it does happen.
If you could tell your younger self one thing right now, what would it be?
Stay calm. I think I've settled down a lot more. I used to be a lot more fast-tempered, or quick to be angered, and I think I've calmed down a lot more than I was.
What fictional character do you most relate to?
Possibly Carrie Matheson from Homeland. Not her eccentric side, of course, but I think maybe her passion and drive to serve the country. I can relate to her a little bit.
What would your best friend say is your best quality?
They say I'm a loyal person, so that's what my best friends mostly say is my best quality.
Who is your favorite historical figure?
I think my favorite historical figure is Princess Diana. She was so regal, and even through a difficult situation, she was able to overcome it and do so much good for humanity. She didn't really shy away from the challenges that she had to face in the public eye.
What's one thing you wish you knew how to do?
I wish I could sing.
What's the greatest risk you've ever taken?
I don't know to say what the greatest risk I've taken. Usually I believe in taking calculated risks, but I did once get into an argument with a bus driver on the middle of the road, and I was all by myself. So I suppose that was probably the greatest risk I took.
What song makes you unconditionally happy?
I don't know about any particular song, but I do love baila music, and it makes me very happy.
What are some challenges you think the next generation will face?
One might be the environment. As we know, the issue that Australia is facing at the moment, and also perhaps racism and discrimination.
What is an invention that you considered priceless?
The invention I consider priceless is the mobile phone.
What is the best professional advice you have ever received?
We need to really value people from any capacity, any background. We need to value people's time and effort.
What age do you feel like you are right now?
I feel like I'm about 16 years old.
Who knows you best?
I think my best friend Sabrina knows me best.
What are you most proud of?
I would say my work.
If you could choose your last words, what would they be?
Jesus, please forgive me for anything I may have done to hurt you.
What would your perfect day be like?
Shopping. I'm addicted. I'm a shopaholic, so I would say my perfect day would be shopping.
What's the best comedy movie you've ever seen?
I don't know if I can remember what the best was. One of my favorite rom-coms, though, were Made in Manhattan, if that counts.
What's been the best concert you've ever attended?
I think I haven't been to any concerts.
Do you believe in luck?
I don't believe in luck. I believe in God's grace and God's will.
What 3 habits will improve your life?
I think one habit is losing my addiction to my phone, and I think I need to eat healthier. And also, I think I need to sleep better because I don't sleep very much.
What really makes you angry?
Injustice in any situation.
Are you a clean or messy person?
I try to be tidy, but I'm not very successful in that.
What does a successful relationship look like to you?
You have to keep working towards whatever it is, because I think in a relationship, compromise is important, and we often tend to not compromise, even though we know we should. And I think to be successful, it's to keep going.
What could you spend all day talking about?
I can spend all day talking about my work. It's what I love to do the most, and I can spend all day talking about my work. So that was the first segment called Actually Me, and that was very nerve-wracking, but I'm looking forward to the next segment. So this is the second segment, Who Am I?, which is an autocomplete interview. Let's answer some of the questions that the internet has to ask about me. What is Araliya's greatest accomplishment? I think my greatest accomplishment was when I worked as an advisor to the mayor. What are Araliya's other hobbies? I love to act, and I like ballet, and I'm into photography and travel. What was Araliya's dream job growing up? My dream job growing up was to be in the army. What is Araliya's biggest pet peeve? I think what I hate the most is people who lie consistently. What is Araliya's favorite Netflix show? My favorite Netflix show would have to be Royals. What is Araliya's favorite non-physical attribute about herself? I think hardworking. Does Araliya still watch cartoons? Yes, I do watch cartoons whenever possible. I think my favorite is Tom and Jerry. Does Araliya sing? I try to. I'm not very successful at singing, but yeah, I pretty much don't sing. Does Araliya wear glasses? Yes, I'm fairly blind, and I definitely need my glasses at all times. Does Araliya have a nickname? Yes, I do have a nickname, and my nickname is Bambi, which was given to me by my grandfather because it means baby girl in Italian. Does Araliya believe in aliens? No, I don't believe in aliens. Does Araliya have pets? Yes, I have two pets, Paris and Tinkerbell. They are two dogs. What is Araliya's favorite collection yet? If it is my own collection, I would say perhaps my saris. What is Araliya's favorite movie? I do really like The Notebook. Who does Araliya admire the most? My grandfather. What is Araliya's biggest strength? Even when I'm struggling, I can still get up and keep continuing to move forward. Oh, when was Araliya born? I was born on the 2nd of October 1986. Who is Araliya's favorite actor? Maybe Jennifer Aniston. I think she's my favorite actor. Is Araliya scared of snakes? I'm petrified of snakes. It's my biggest fear in life. Is Araliya a lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer, but I have had the privilege of working for lawyers, including President's Councils and a judge as well. Is Araliya on Twitter? Yes, I am on Twitter. Is Araliya a cat or a dog person? I am definitely a dog person. I don't like cats very much. Is Araliya vegan? Unfortunately not, but I would love to be. Is Araliya really tall? Unfortunately no, I'm not very tall. How would Araliya define volunteering? Perhaps giving your time and service without people asking you, and even when perhaps could be even in difficult circumstances. How many languages can Araliya speak? I can speak 2 languages, which is Sinhalese and English. I did learn a bit of Spanish as well though. How does Araliya get motivated? I get motivated when I'm working with people and when I see for myself the situation that people are facing. I think that's what motivates me. How would Araliya describe herself in one word? Difficult. How would Araliya describe her childhood? I actually had the best childhood. That's how I would describe it. So that was the Who Am I segment, and that was quite interesting. I don't think I've done anything like that before. So moving on to the next segment. So this is the third and final segment called My First. So I'll be basically sharing my first with you. So let's move on to the segment.
First thought today.
My first thought today was how I'm going to face this show.
The first thing you do when you wake up.
The first thing I do when I wake up is look at my phone. I'm quite addicted to it, so that's definitely the first thing I do.
First thing you ate today.
I have not eaten today. I didn't have very much time and I was a little nervous, so I haven't eaten today.
First lesson from Dad.
It didn't cost you, he always tells me that it doesn't cost you anything to smile with someone and be kind.
First advice from Mom.
I'm not sure if I can restrict it to one. My mother is constantly advising me on different things.
First time you got into trouble.
I can't remember exactly the first time, but it's probably when I had gone off somewhere I was not supposed to go to.
First school.
The first school I went to was Methodist College.
First favorite subject.
My first favorite subject would have to be English. I think that was definitely my favorite.
First vehicle.
My first vehicle was a Toyota Corolla. I got the car as soon as I was able to get my license when I was 18 years old, I think.
First time traveling abroad.
I've actually been traveling I've actually had the privilege to travel since I was a baby. And I think, yeah, so was when I was a baby. My parents took me Canada.
First best friend.
Yeah, my first best friend would be my cousin Minusha. She and I grew up together and we've been best friends since. She's my best friend and my sister.
First time you were recognized in public.
I think the first time I was recognized in public was probably by my friends when I used to act in plays on stage.
First time you heard your voice on TV.
The first time I heard my voice on TV is going to be after this show is produced.
First time you ever got embarrassed.
I don't remember the first time, but I'm pretty clumsy and I have a lot of embarrassing situations that I get into all the time.
First song you sang.
I don't remember the first song I sang.
First mobile phone.
The first mobile phone I had was a purple-colored Nokia that we used to have. And that was, I don't remember the year, but that was the first phone.
First love.
My first love would have probably been my grandfather.
First time on stage.
The first time on stage, maybe 5 or 6.
First crush.
I think the first person I had a crush on was when I was very young, and we had a family friend who was from Netherlands, and I think he's the first person I had a crush on.
First movie you saw in a cinema.
I'm not sure to say if it was the first movie, but I remember going to watch the Titanic when it came down, and I was in England and I went to the cinema there in London, and that was, I think, the one I remember.
First role model.
My first role model again was my grandfather.
First pet.
The first pet I had was a dog, and her name was Sandy, and she was very, very loyal and close to me. She was my best friend.
First thing you notice about a person.
The first thing I notice about a person is how they are dressed.
First thing on your bucket list.
First thing on my bucket list would perhaps be to go to Santorini.
First job.
My first job was working for a minister, and I joined as a research assistant, and I worked on his personal staff.
First heartbreak.
I think my first heartbreak was the loss of a loved one when I was very small.
First time you realized you could succeed.
I think this is something I struggle to actually see within myself, but even though I'm not sure if I'll succeed or not, I do keep going and keep trying. That was me, Araliya, on Ask Me on Hi TV. I think you must have got to know a little bit about me, and I think I got to know a little bit about myself as well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.